I share with you right now that the most valuable tool that you need to know, that you need to take ownership, is your strengths and your limitation. Is understanding how God has wired you. Here's what we have in common in each and every one of us in this room. We are all the sum of our experiences. And we are all the sum of our ancestors. That's your DNA. How you were brought up, your nurture, how God has wired you, your nature, provides you these filters that you see life through. They're called your temperament style, your personality, your character, your preferences, your strengths, and your limitation. Now, as a contact handler, I had to decode human capital. So I look at everyone here as having a human capital waiting to be discovered. And if you're okay with this, and this is what Sean asked for, to do a live demonstration of how I go about decoding one's preferred communication style. Are you game? All right. Marsden is the inventor of this tool. Now, there are over 200 behavioral tools that exist today to better understand people. I have my favorite, find yours, but master it. So I've used the one from Marsden, as in it's based on the emotions of normal people, so I look at you as being normal. Well, there's always a few. The one, the only. Yeah. So, if you're okay with this, let's all stand up. I'm going to be moving people around. All right? So Marsden theorized that inside of us, we have a preference. We have a preference towards being outgoing or being reserved. It is known as the pace perspective. There's a preference. Are you more a fast pace or are you more slower pace? One is not better or worse, it is just different. And you've got these two traits in you to a lesser or greater degree. You could be moderately outgoing, extremely outgoing. You could be moderately reserved or extremely reserved. One is not better or worse, it's just different. If you had to choose right now, you're not locked into this, you can change your mind over breakfast tomorrow morning. By a simple show of hand, how many in the room here would say, you know what, I tend to be more outgoing? Can I see your hand? Okay, 1, 2, 3. That's pretty good. Thank you very much. All right. How many would say, well, you know what, if I have my preference, JJ, I tend to be a little bit more reserved. Can I see your hand? Larger group? All right. It's always fun how you raise your hand. Who's more outgoing? Who's more reserved? He's not going to ask for volunteers, is he? Here's the thing. You cannot not communicate. You communicate all the time. I will see it. I will read it. I will adapt. Now, if you raised your hand and you sense that you're more outgoing, I'd like for you to move to this side of the room. There's 2 alleys right now. And if you sense you're more reserved in your day-to-day activity, I'd like for you to move to this side of the room in the 2 alleys, creating 2 areas, as in we're dividing the groups into 2. There's always a pace perspective when it comes to interacting with people. Either fast-paced, slow-paced. It's a preference that you have. You've got both of these in you, I know. This is not meant to label, characterize, or pigeonhole. This is meant to better understand people. So we divide the groups into 2. This is the pace perspective, a preference that you may have. So this group tends to be a little bit more outgoing, fast-paced, and this group tends to be a bit more reserved. This interaction is an irritation. They are irritated because you're fast-paced. They are irritated because you are slower pace. As in, speed it up, slow down. Yet it still gets done. I lose my wife so many times at the airport. I'm outgoing. right? And I always ask her to wear those shoes that makes noise. Cluck, 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 cluck. Then I slow down until the cluck, 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 cluck comes in. And then I clear the alley. Let's go, honey. Right? No right or wrong, it's just different. Now, Marsden also theorized that inside of us, we have a priority perspective, a preference, if you wish, a preference towards task or towards people. Task as in getting things done. People as in interacting, socializing, having fun. Again, one is not better or worse, it is just different. Based on where you are right now, if you sense that you're more task-focused, task-oriented, move to this side of the room in the alleys. If you're more on the people side, interacting and socializing, staying in the same area, but move to this side of the room, creating 4 areas. Nope. So, just to recap, okay? Outgoing, task-oriented. Outgoing, people-oriented. Reserve and people-oriented. Reserve and task-oriented. Okay? So, this side versus this side. 80 to 90% of conflict comes from this area. The priority perspective. As in this group here, right? So this group is the people-oriented, right? You look at them on that side, and you say, hey, my gosh, you guys are so mean. Chill out. We tend to label what we don't understand. Now, from this perspective, we're looking over there. Oh, my gosh, you guys are so lazy. Let's go. Just do. Get her done. Why do we have 80 to 90% of the conflict come from this perspective? Because this language is different than this language. Have you ever seen this word? Care. Which side is it on? See, I was asked that question. I'm a double dose of that side of the equation. So I was asked, JJ, can I ask you a question? Absolutely. I'm on my neurolinguistic programming accreditation, and the master trainer asked me to volunteer and to be out front of the room. He goes, JJ, do you care about people? I paused. I know the politically correct answer, but can I be truthful and not be judged? Can I be truthful? And it's absolutely. I don't give a rip. The whole group turned on me like this. We've been together for 6 days, for 12-hour days, and like that, he's so conceited. I can't believe he said that. And I'm like, I should have went with the politically correctness. Then the master trainer goes, JJ, can I ask you another question? Sure. Right, back up the bus, run me over again. What's your question? Do you value people? And without even thinking, of course I value people. I wouldn't be in this business if I didn't value people. See, the word care and the word value has the same intent. But when you don't have this awareness, this insights, we tend to label and characterize and pigeonhole. Now watch this one. Relationship. They understand that. Now, on the business side, we understand that we have to have a business relationship. Is there a better word, though? Partnership. Now, here's your test, if you so choose to accept the mission tonight. Go to your spouse and ask her, honey, our marriage, is that a relationship or a partnership? I dare you. I offered that at training. right? This lady was very strong in this quadrant, very task-focused. She didn't even wait. She takes out her phone. She starts texting. She goes, honey, is our marriage, is that a relationship or a partnership? To which he answered, it feels more like a dictatorship. That was funny. That was funny. The word feel. How do you feel? How do you feel? How do you feel? See, if you ask that question here, how do you feel? How do you feel? It's think. So what do you think? What do you feel? When you meet somebody for the first time and you do not know where to go, ask them the two words together. So what do you think or feel we should do after this retreat? To which I may get an answer, well, I feel we should. Ding, 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 ding. I need to go on the people side of things. Well, I think, ding, 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 let's go. See, you cannot not communicate. You communicate all the time. See, when you have these 4 quadrants, right, and it's easy to remember outgoing, reserve, and tasker and people. These quadrants, it's like visiting a different country. There's their flags. You got a green flag. Why? Color green. Green means go, right? That very much defines that culture, right? The D culture is a culture that tends to be more direct. They're direct, demanding, decisive. Green is a color that characterizes exclamation mark. Why? They are emphatic. It's never what they say, it's how they say it. Love you. You just tone the voice a little bit. From the I quadrant, that country, that culture tends to be more inspiring. We know them as our inspiring, that they inspire, they induce, they influence. Their color is red. Why? They draw people to them. They have so much more energy. Like the sun, we're drawn to the sun. We're drawn to that temperament style automatically. They're the most fun people to be with. Stars of the show because they don't mind being the star of the show. They're thinking, I can do what he does. Now, on the reserve and on the people side, right, that quadrant is the culture that tends to be more supportive. We know them as our supportive type. Blue is their color. Blue skies, blue ocean. They thrive for serenity, peace, and harmony. They are by far the nicest people you're going to come across in your life. Plus or minus is their symbol. Why? Because more of this, less of that, they're okay. You can come into a room, my gosh, it's cold in here, and the high S would say, it is kind of cold. A complete stranger comes on the other side and says, my gosh, is it me or is it warm? And the high, yeah, it is kind of warm. Wait a minute, before you agreed it was cold, now you're agreeing it's warm. And the high S would say, yeah, I did say that. Plus or minus, they're okay. And over here, the reserve, and a large group, the reserve and task oriented, that's the C quadrant. That's a culture that tends to be more cautious. They're cautious, calculating, conscientious. They are often referred to as the smartest people you're going to come across this life. Now, they have more question than the general population. And you thought that they were put on earth to annoy you. Right. Opposite attract, and then they attack, for sure. Take your seats, and I'll just demonstrate a little bit more, and also provide you an opportunity to get a copy of the slide decks. I'll show you how you can do that towards the end. I just wanted you to experience at least identifying maybe a primary quadrant. That culture that I refer to as a culture that's more direct, you're looking at 10 to 15% general population. This is where we come to the altar and say, Lord, thank you for only 10%. They're the smallest group general population, but they will buy based on results and performance. So how are you going to bring them on in ministry? How are you going to present an idea in order to gain buy-in? It has to be based on results and performance. Their basic needs, like a fish needs water to live, is choices, challenges, and control, non-negotiable. If there's one thing for you to memorize, is those last three. A basic need. As soon as I recognize a quadrant, I know the needs, I know their preferences, I can meet that need, meet that preference, and they will wear the Team Canada jersey. I'm from that quadrant. I'm a blend of all four, just like you are a blend of all four of these traits, but that's my quadrant. How many identify with that quadrant? Can I see your hand? Right? So those hands that you see right now, those are my homies, and those are the danger zones. Now, I'm working on a landscaping project at home. I needed a wheelbarrow for one day. My wife comes from the S quadrant. My wife says to me, go and ask Martin to borrow his wheelbarrow. So guys, what did I do? I went to Home Depot and I bought one. For one day. Was it a wise investment? No. If you're married, this issue will come back 6 months later, and it did. Well, honey, if you agree it was not a wise investment, why didn't you listen to me? Why didn't you just go and borrow Martin's wheelbarrow? Well, Julie, it's like you're telling me what to do. Oh, well, Jean, what should I have said, honey? Well, it's not like I have the magic one-liner, use this and it will, get out of the jail free card. But Julie, if you would have said something like, honey, do you think you can convince Martin to lend you his wheelbarrow? Move over. Here's the point. Learn to say the same thing in a different way. You want buy-in? Learn to say the same thing in a different way. That culture will not buy in unless you speak that language. And they will tell you the language. Those that are more, that culture that tends to be more inspiring. We're looking at 25-30% general population around the world. They will buy based on image and popularity. Am I going to look good? Is my brand going to be affected by hanging out with you? Is this a popular thing, your church? They're concerned with their image, right? But what's their basic need? Recognition, approval, popularity. Non-negotiable, like a fish needs water to live. It just so happens that God has blessed me with one of my child being very strong in the I quadrant. That's my daughter. She enjoys recognition, approval, popularity. One day, one of my mentors, Dr. Robert Rome, who pastors a church in Griffin, in Georgia, he was in town and wanted to take my family out for lunch. My son was not available, but my daughter and my wife were available, and then my daughter was going to meet Dr. Robert Rome for the very first time. Dr. Rome comes from the same quadrant. Dr. Rome has 4 daughters. He's got 5 degrees. He's got his doctorate degrees in higher education, and he's got a master's in theology. He studied with Zig Ziglar and Charles Stanley. He went to school with Andy Stanley. Good crowd. From a Roman Catholic background to a charismatic church, my first experience was at Andy Stanley's church in North Point. It's a little bit different than my church from downtown, Field, Ontario. Right? So Dr. Rome is there. My daughter meets him for the first time, and she's about, 13, 14? If you've never heard words spoken from your child, right? It's like, Dr. Rome, can I ask you a personal question? I've never heard her use those words. And I'm looking at Julie. It's like she woke up this morning and she has a personal question. It's the first time that she meets him. And Dr. Rome's got 4 daughters. Yeah, what's your question, honey? Do you color your hair? It's my child. My mentor. And Dr. Rome says, well, I have to speak to large audiences, sometimes 70,000 people, and I have to be what they call camera friendly. So sometimes they have to put makeup, my suits has to be in one color, right? So that it's easier, and I have to help the camera in my hair, so sometimes I have to add a little bit more color to it. Like he was very graceful. He didn't minimize my daughter, right? Was she done? No. Dr. Rome, do you know what I like best about your eyes? Dr. Rome has never heard that question before. He comes up, no, what? My reflection in them? Recognition, approval, popularity. She's in now. And he speaks around the world, and guess what? He shares that story. It's a basic need that the I trait requires in order to thrive. God wired them that way. This culture that we talked about, the culture that tends to be more supportive, right? This is the largest group general population. If you have a hard time discerning where the people are coming from, go S. Love on them. Go S. Reserve and people-oriented. They will buy based on ease and familiarity. How familiar is it? How easy is it to go to your church? I'll pick you up. That's how easy it is, right? Their basic need is security, appreciation, and assurance. Sincere appreciation, assurance, and reassurance. My wife comes from that quadrant, right? I was still working in government one day, and I opened the door. Something's cooking. She finished early. All the housekeeping is done. You know, you can tell by the tracks in the carpet. All the pillows are in its proper place. There's nothing hanging around. Something's in the oven. The house smells great. It's almost like a Thanksgiving smell, right? And I go, uh-oh. Is it somebody's birthday? Is it someone's anniversary? Are the in-laws in town? Are we expecting company? No, she had lots of energy. She finished early. She just got the whole house cleaned up. My dad came to mind the day that we got married. And my dad said to me, never, never, never take your wife for granted. She's not your slave. You better pay her a compliment. Don't ever take her for granted. Yes, sir. So, I need to pay a compliment. So, guys, here's what not to say. I open the door, get all my information. Compliment. Hey, place looks great, good job. Hey, place looks great, good job. I think it's when I did the sound effect. Anyways, it was a very, very cold evening. I shared that with Dr. Owen because you should always have a mentor, right? You go up. He thinks that's the funniest thing ever. I'm just looking for an answer. Give me the report. What are the words that I'm supposed to use? What am I, so that this doesn't happen again. Well, you remember, JJ, a truth spoken is not as powerful as a truth that's been self-discovered. Yeah, I discovered it. Give me the answer. Click. Well, life provides you these déjà vu, right? Open up the door one day. Mexican. You can tell when you're having Mexican, right? That aroma and all that. I'm like, oh, I've seen this before, so I go through the whole checklist again, right? But this time I had more information. This time I knew what not to say. But the thought that came to my mind that time is, wherever you are, be there. I don't know why, but it just came. Wherever you are, be there. See, from this quadrant, we're so driven to accomplish things. We see how we put value in ourselves by how much we accomplish. Relaxing, putting your feet up, is almost a crime, right? So I drop the bag. She's in the kitchen, and this time I make my way to the kitchen, and I'm there mentally and physically. And this time I say Julie, which is a good start point. That's actually her name. Julie, I really appreciate, honey, all the effort you put in keeping the house in order. I don't know what I would do. I don't know what we would do if you weren't here. Thank you. A hug and a kiss. Ta-da-ta-ta-ta-ta. They need a sense of security. We're still there as a team. They need appreciation, sincere appreciation, and assurance and reassurance from us. That may be your spouse. That may be one of your kids. That may be one of your grandkids. They have a different language you need to discover. And the largest group here, not to forget them, that culture tends to be more cautious. About 25, 30%. Again, plus or minus, give or take. They will buy based on value and quality. No value, no quality, nay, nay. Now, their basic needs, like a fish needs water to live, quality, excellence, value. If you're going to stack boxes with excellence. All the labels should be facing me. It's just a box. Nay, nay. It needs to be excellent. Right? God has blessed me with a son that's very strong in that quadrant. And they have more questions than the general population. Why is the word abbreviation so long? Are you serious? Who invented that word? I don't know. What was the name of Captain Hook before he lost his hand? Who cares? What's another word for thesaurus? What? Do you need help? Like Microsoft has a thesaurus. If you want another word, you type another word, and thesaurus will give you another word. But if you actually write the word thesaurus, it has no other word. I've done the research for you. They just have a lot of questions. Right? Why does the glue not stick inside the bottle? I'm just happy that it works. When he had to learn how to drive, Dad called it a parkway and a driveway. So I use the same term. Park in a driveway. Let's go driving on the parkway. Why do you call it a parkway when we're not parking it? Oh, come on, Joe. Really? That's what Dad called it. That's what I'm calling it. Do you want your license? Yes or no? Right? You get frustrated with all these questions. But here's the best question ever. Do flies fly upside down? You know the common housefly? Do they fly upside down? No. Well, when they're on the ceiling, they're upside down. How did they get there? Is it like this? Or is it like... Let me save you 6 months of research. There's an institute in Ontario that studies insects. God has designed them that way, where they take the first two legs, they can move that over the eye, that's what connects to the ceiling, and the rest of the body follows. You're welcome. Here's your money slide. You want to take your phone, you want to take a picture of that, go right ahead. It's unclassified. You can use it as much as you want. This will make a great mouse pad. It's coming, right? Because you have all the information there. You cannot not communicate. Imagine somebody on the phone is talking to you in a fast-paced. It's either from a D or an I quadrant. Let's say on the phone they're really hard to hear, hard to, probably very reserved, right? They're asking you a lot of questions. You know where they're leaning. If they're talking and sharing, then you know where they're leaning. You cannot not communicate. This provides you a start point of connecting with them by design and not by chance. Because right now, you're just walking it or you're just talking based on how you are wired. God has wired us differently. Now, we are a blend of these four traits in us to a lesser or greater degree. You're not a letter, you're not a color, you're not a symbol. You are a beautiful blend of all these four traits in you. The thing is, we don't understand our strengths, we don't know our strengths, and if you don't know your strengths, you don't know your limitation. But this is the key application of this tool. How do you establish and maintain rapport with people? This is, as a contact handler, this is how we make our living. Establish a rapport. Establish and maintain rapport. That self-declared mayor of Mostar, the first meeting, the second meeting, the third meeting, always, always, always towards that end. Rapport, top of the ladder, rapport is the highest state of relatability that you can have between two people. You and your spouse, you and your kids, you and your grandkids, you with your colleagues. See, a ladder requires energy to go up. Would you agree? It will require energy to establish and maintain rapport. I'm not an advocate of instant rapport. I do believe you can have an instant connection with people. Because I had to teach other people. Once the assignment was done, once the deployment was done, I was debriefing people of how to actually do it as the first Canadian. My brain works a certain way. How can we systemize? How can we teach the mass so that everybody can do this effectively versus just by chance? Every time you interact with people, two opportunities will show up. You will either complete or compete. Complete or compete. Two Ds competing. Imagine four Ds of foursome playing golf. Where's the first fight? Who's driving? The cart. Four high I temperament style. Who's most likely going to have the first accident on the golf course? Who's still on the golf course? No, you go. No, it's okay, you go. No, you go. No, you go. Who's still arguing that was an extra stroke you took? The C's, right? Now, my brain goes complete versus compete. Very similar words. Next to there's an L. And my brain goes, well, what's the L factor in order to make that connection? Until you can find a common link, common like, common love, no connection. Regardless of the culture, find a common link, a common like, common love. Connection. Now you're going to have to go up that ladder. The 4 Ings to connecting: listening, observing, discerning, and speaking. It took me 2 years to get this. 2 years I had this little piece of paper where I'm like flipping it around, I'm studying, I'm challenging it, and at the end, I got it. It's listening, observing, discerning, and speaking. That ladder has 4 rungs. Listening is an S attribute. They are the professional listeners. They're phenomenal at listening. They prefer listening than talking. Observing. Who are the professional observers? Oh, gotta love the seed community. That culture is phenomenal at observing. Who can make decisions and then change their mind and make another decision? Now we know how that doesn't work. Let's do something else. Doesn't have to have all the facts. You know, their motto is like, ready, fire, aim. Who are the professional talkers? The eyes, the speaking. Yeah. Their motto is like, ready, fire, talk. Hey, so how was your weekend? As they engage in other activity. Listening, observing, discerning, and speaking. But here's the thing. My lowest rate happens to be the S rate. Where do I struggle on that ladder? The first rung. I don't even listen. I've already observed and I've already decided. Right? What happens when you miss a step on the ladder? Oh, you fall. Right? Now, watch this. On the task-oriented side, before I can do business with you, you must first trust me. Trust comes here. Before I can do business, I must first trust you. Now, if I'm going to do business on the people side, before I can do business with you, I must first like you. See? If you're trying to impose your certain style to the other, it ain't going to work. Trust comes first here. And trust is earned. But over here, trust is given until you lose it. So, trust, relationship. Once I trust you, I'll see that you have value, and I will want to build a relationship with you. But it's not called relationship. It's called partnership. We're going to partner together. Here's, once I like you, once we've established that relationship, I will trust you with my personal information. See, relationship and trust, both sides, it just comes at a different. And rapport is the highest state of relatability. Every place that you see an arrow, you require a ladder to go to that phase. It's nonstop. Listening, observing, discerning, and speaking. You know what the word listen? Not listening, but just the word listen. If you were to rearrange those letters, you have the word silent. Isn't that cool? Listen. If you just listen, rearrange that, you have silent. Until you can actually silence your mind, silence your lips, you cannot really listen to the other person. Now, my mind goes crazy sometimes. Like, hey, can I rearrange the letters again? Yes, you can. And you get the word enlist. When you listen in silent, you can enlist a proper response to what has been said. To speak their language. Highest state of relatability is establishing and maintaining rapport. So these are the type of questions that the task-oriented individuals ask themselves. Can I trust this person to do what they promise? How do you establish and maintain a rapport with God? The task-oriented individuals, do you not ask yourselves these questions too? Can I trust God? Can I trust God's information? that's in the Bible? Can I trust that if I accept that it's going to be logical? Trust is a big factor here for those that are more task-focused. On the people side, does this person care about me? Does God love me? Does He really genuinely love me? Will God listen to me when I talk to Him? These are questions that, regardless of where you're from, you'll ask yourself. Now, I have gifts that I'd like to give. I'm a content speaker. I love giving. In the back, Sean, can you just give me that book? In the back, I brought everything that I have. And this is the Dreaming Big and Being Bold. So there's inspiring stories. I was asked at the last minute to contribute a chapter, so I wrote a chapter on From the Shadows to the Spotlight. And in the first week on Amazon, it turned into an international best-selling book. So in the back, at my table, you can take a free copy. My gift to you, okay, for being here today. For those of you who prefer having a soft copy, take a picture of that screen. You know those 10 most effective ice-breaking questions that I talked to you about? There's a PDF just for you. Right? You have these 10 questions. Now, you don't have to use all 10 questions. One or two, it engages into a conversation. And then From the Shadows to the Spotlight, whatever, that chapter 8 that's in the book, so this I converted into a Word document, so you can also have a copy. And it's as simple as going to the gettalk.at Armour Up 2019. Those are free. You will not be subscribed to a newsletter. If you have if you have questions, information, if you have things that you'd like to learn more about, or I can assist, then you'll have my touch point in regards to how you can actually reach out. But the most important part of, and the last one in regards to the awareness, is legacy awareness. We talked about environmental awareness, situational awareness. Self-awareness is key, because without self-awareness, you may not ever be able to acquire legacy awareness. I define legacy awareness by the pencil, by the parable of the pencil. So that's another gift for you to remember the parable of the pencil. This is what actually saved me in Bosnia. That saved my bacon so many times. There's 5 things that we can learn from a simple instrument, from a simple little pencil. See, the creator, the manufacturer, the inventor of the pencil, before he sends out the pencil, before the pencil goes on that assignment and it deploys, shares that there's 5 things that you must learn and never forget as a pencil. Number 1, before you can be usable as a pencil, you must first be willing to be placed into somebody else's hand. Number 1. Number 2, you're going to go through some sharpening as a pencil. It's going to hurt. Let me encourage you, you're going to be better because of the sharpening as a pencil. You know, as a pencil, you're going to make mistakes. I know. That's why I placed an eraser at the end. And remember that your true value, core value, is not found on the outside. It's not what you look, it's not your color, your shape, your size. It's what I placed inside of you that you will find your true core value. And number 5, most important, and the one that you should never, never forget, you were created, designed, invented for one thing and one thing only. And that's to leave your mark on every surface you come in contact with. Legacy awareness. You're not here by accident. There'll come a time that you're going to have to be teachable. Are you teachable? There's come a time that life will provide you with some character building moments. It's going to hurt. Don't run from them, run towards them. You know, in the military, during Vietnam, if the Huey, the helicopter, if it lost power, it could have a controlled crash if they counter-rotate the blades. In order to counter-rotate the blades, you've got to take the stick and push it towards the ground. But as you're diving, it's human nature to pull on the stick, but if you pull towards it, it will counter-rotate and you have an opportunity for a controlled crash. It's still a crash. So run towards it. There's a lesson in the sharpening. You're going to make mistakes in your life. We all do. You've got the right to start over with the information you have today. You know, your past does not dictate your future. Your past prepares you for your future. So dust yourself off. Tomorrow's another day. Your true core values found on the inside. God has placed something inside of you, that human capital. If you've never taken an opportunity to take an audit, to find out the level of intensities of the DIS and C trait that you have in you, to find out your strengths and also your limitation, because the key here, the key to your success is found in your lowest trait, in your limitation, because that's where God's strength is going to be found. And the last one is to leave a mark. Every day you have an opportunity to make a difference in somebody else's life, directly, in the spotlight, or in the shadows. Sean has provided me an opportunity to make a difference in the lives of this church. It's humbling. I don't have all the scriptures. I don't have it all memorized. Right? Do I have to go after Pastor Gabe? And really? He had rocks. I don't have rocks. I've got a pencil. Right? So, as we move forward, that's what Bosnia looked like back then. This is what it looks like today. I had a small part in that. I left a legacy behind. You see, I was given that assignment. I deployed. And then I got debriefed. And then I got an opportunity to share with others what I've learned. Life is a series of assignments. Choose to deploy, learn what needs to be learned, and share with others what you've learned. This briefing is classified for your eyes only, and it will self-destruct if not applied within the next 72 hours. Thank you.
All right, keep it going. Give him a hand, guys. J.J. Brun, thank you so much, good sir.